In this video we're going to look at MIDI and recording MIDI. We're going to look at understanding the basics of the MIDI protocol, identifying the two types of MIDI compatible tracks that Pro Tools provides, recognize the difference between sample based operation and tick based operation, set the main time scale to bars and beats, prepare a system to record MIDI data, and then to set up a virtual instrument to play MIDI data recorded on an instrument track. So MIDI stands for Musical Instrument Digital Interface. MIDI data is not audio data, rather it represents performance parameters, so information about which notes are played when and how hard the keys are pressed and so on. So it does not represent sound waves. And we have up to 16 channels of MIDI data which can be sent through a single MIDI cable or a USB cable. And MIDI sequencers, as they were once known, these things now are called digital audio workstations, but MIDI sequencers could store MIDI data, edit MIDI data, and play back a MIDI performance through a synthesizer, sound module, or drum machine, i.e. the sounds were not interior to the computer, the computer would then trigger sounds by sending MIDI information out to a keyboard or a sound module. So there are two types of MIDI compatible tracks in Pro Tools. We've got the MIDI track, which stores and plays back MIDI data only, so no audio, or an instrument track, which stores and plays back MIDI data and routes audio signals for playback. So if I do that, I can choose whether I want it to be mono or stereo, and you can see that the track time base defaults to ticks rather than samples. So if I just create an instrument, and if I go here and make that jumbo, so you can see it. So sample based operation versus tick based operation. Well, sample based operation records information or recorded information is tied to a fixed point in time. Sample based locations are absolute locations in time, and location won't change if the session tempo is modified. Whereas tick based operation, here recorded information is tied to a bar or a beat. Tick based locations are relative locations in time. Locations will move earlier if the session tempo increases, and later if the session tempo decreases. And Pro Tools subdivides bars and beats into ticks, so 960 ticks per 1/4 note. If I just bring up my if I go up to here to my main time scale, you can see here the display is currently in bars and beats, but if I click this header here, I can change the main counter to whatever I want it to be. So because I'm going to be working in MIDI, I'm going to keep that to bars and beats. And if I go to view, in between edit and track, and I go to ruler, I can add a tempo ruler, I can add meter, and I'm going to add key signature as well. And you'll see that that's just appeared in here. So my meter at the moment is 4/4, but if I click this little plus sign here, I can change that to whatever I want. The default is 1 bar. And if I wanted to change the tempo, I can click there and change the tempo, and I can of course also put in tempo changes if I need to. So default on most sequencers is 120 BPM. And if I go to key, if I click the add key signature button, I get the key change window. Again, the default is C major. You can see here I can make different key changes in between different bars if I need to. So at the moment I haven't got a keyboard connected because I'm using all my MIDI ports. I'm using my 2 MIDI ports. But if I was to connect up a USB keyboard, I would see some MIDI metering here with relatively little effort. I don't really need to do anything. It would automatically see my MIDI keyboard and start to give me MIDI. But I might see MIDI registering, but I won't actually hear anything. And that's because I haven't actually got any instruments inserted just yet. So if I just record enable that track, I've got some recording options down here. So available on the transport bar, I've got some options such as wait for note, metronome, MIDI merge, and the conductor track. And if I just go up to event, which is here, and I go to event operation, and if I scroll down halfway down, I've got input quantized. So that means that the notes will be quantized when I start playing. So enable input quantize, and I can set the quantized grid, which is a 16th note by default. Good place to start. So I just set that. So that means when I start playing, the notes will automatically be quantized. If I now go up to my inserts and to plugins, instruments, I haven't got much in the way of instruments, but you might see in this window other instruments such as Boom, DB33, Mini Grand, Structure. I've just got expand. So I just clicked on, there we go. Thought I just clicked off it. If I was to go to bright pads here, you can see that there's all sorts of sounds, drums we can program, bass lines, synths, all sorts. And if I was just to choose a sound and then to play on my keyboard, I'd hear that sound being triggered. The same for other soft synthesizers such as Boom and Structure. And if I wanted to record, I'd simply just press record, and if I've got wait for note turned on, as soon as I play the note that would start recording, but as I haven't got a keyboard selected, I just start recording just as I would record audio. I would see my MIDI notes on here, or maybe I can draw some in. Draw some in down here. There's my MIDI notes. And as I played back, they would be triggered. They're not for some reason, but it could be to do with the fact that I need a stereo output. And maybe just I wonder if I'm actually, yeah, it is triggering something. It's just, let's try drums kick menu, see if it triggers some kicks. That's probably nothing, there's probably no samples on those keys, but that's what it would look like. So rather than the waveform, it would look like lines like that, piano roll. So this is our MIDI note view, and you can see we've got a keyboard on here as well, so it gives us some indication of where those notes are. So it shows individual notes in a piano roll format, and pitch range can be scrolled up and down using the MIDI keyboard. and the velocity can be shown as well. So if I wanted to look at the velocity of each of those notes, I can change that here on volume as well, and probably panning as well if I had some panning going on. Yeah, MIDI pan, so that's all showing here, so I can automate all that here as well. I'll go back to clips, and of course if I double click I go into my MIDI editor window. So here I can show, I can see MIDI data and automation data. Again, down the bottom here we can program some automation. We can show all auxiliary outputs, instruments and MIDI tracks, and we can show automation and controller lanes, so I can add other automation lanes here, and we can toggle between there you go, note view, notation view and note view